Alright, this is Frank Sinatra, and welcome to this set of 0079 SD mobile suits. For those of you who don't know what I'm doing usually the 2 or 3, or in case of Delivery 3, 4 mobile suits, main ones from the series, and I just bought the SD versions of them, and I will review them. So, going in order, first up is 0079, and here's our box for the RX-78 Gundam. It's actually about the size of a high-grade box. It's actually kind of nice in terms of what you get, although you don't get a hyper bazooka, but I won't cry about that now. On the inside of the box, you do get this thing here. It's a little insert with a gun tank and a gun cannon telling you which number they are, so you can hopefully pick them up later or whatever. But I thought that was a nice little insert. The manual here is about normal size for a SD kit, and here's a nice color picture of the Gundam. And then some stuff from the show, like common poses, plus a decal marking. You get 2 sheets of decals, a clear set and a foil set, which I'll show you. And then just information as standard, and then the actual construction. For decals, here's the clear sheet. It's kind of small. I put all of them on the kit, so you'll see them there. And here we have the gloss sheet for, assorted reds for like the feet, the like V that's on the crotch piece, the shield, and eyes and such. Speaking of which, here you can see with the eyes that it's into 2 little separate parts. The eyes are molded in yellow, and for the shield itself is molded in a rather kind of disgusting grayish color, which I found quite disappointing. But that's really all you get in terms of decals. So the other one, next box in the way, is Char's Zaku II, the Zaku II MS-06S. Then here we have on the side, pictures of what's going down, everything, all that fun stuff. The manual here, showing off all the stuff that comes with it. Same with like the beam bazooka, everything, with information in here, and same here as par for the course standard. And this is actually telling you that you can only get the RX-78 with this set, which yeah, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure the Gundam Guns contrast, you can't turn in contest entries to win that if you wanted to. But yeah, here's the manual. It's actually considerably shorter than, in terms of how much work, than the Gundam. Especially all these pictures are much bigger than the Gundams. But that's that for Char Zaku. And for decals, you get 3 of them. They're all foil. You have his Char's insignia, the Xeon symbol, and a mono eye piece. None of these I applied because the red I used for Char doesn't match up with these, and I don't really want to stick it on there. Plus I painted the mono eye. So let's bring you down here and start with the actual kits. Okay, so first up, here we have the RX-78-2 Gundam. It's actually a pretty nice little thing. In terms of color, you will get a yellow, blue, a white, that gray I was talking about, which will be on the gun and the shield. And one thing though is all the colors you get, oh, and don't forget yellow. I think I said that. Anyways, all the colors you get are actually very, very milky. They look pretty terrible when it's all assembled and not painted, so like all SD kits actually, I highly suggest painting. But onto review. So we have the head, which is on a peg joint. You can do a full 360 and look up just about that high and down about that low. The arms are actually on an interesting little joint. Let me pull one out for you. Just wedge it out there. Okay, so in there you can see a poly cap, and here's how the arms are stuck in. polycap goes in there, which gives the arms some pretty good, some pretty alright side-to-side motion, mostly just for forward, but still it leaves for some pretty good articulation with the arms. And they can't, I don't think they can, I don't want to break this. Yes, they can. They can do a full 360 if you need them to, because there's a polycap and a peg in there. They can go up pretty much full 90 degrees and down. And the arms here are on, again, polycaps, and they go about that far each way. Plus the hands, they're actually on their own kind of peg, and they all rotate. So next up is the torso, which is on a peg and polycap, and it can do a full 360 and holds actually quite steady. The legs themselves, we'll pop one off. There we go. They are on polycaps, ball joints, and it actually holds up by itself on one leg. The feet themselves have an extra bit of movement. There's a polycap down there, and the foot can actually come down like this, I suppose for maybe a kneeling motion. I quite honestly have not figured out why it exists to do that, but whatever. And back on. That's really it in terms of articulation for the body. So for accessories, we get ourselves a small little beam rifle, all molded in one color, so you'll have to paint the sight for it. And the peg is interesting. It's rectangular instead of circular, and actually sits in the hand very well and comes out very easily when you need it to. Get yourself a beam saber, which is molded all in white, and I painted the standard pink. I painted this before I broke out my new airbrush, so I couldn't do any fading effect. I'll start doing that on the 0083 ones, which have yet to be painted. And it sits in the hand pretty easily. It doesn't slide in quite as well as the beam rifle, but it at least goes in there pretty well. And lastly, we have our shield, which I hand painted, just so I wouldn't have that terrible gray color with it. And here on the arms, you can see like a little divot in there. It's on both sides and for both arms too. And with the shield, it just kind of scoots on there, and there we have a shield. And that's it for the Gundam. So moving on to Char's Zaku. Here we have Char's SD Zaku. I just want to point out one thing. I think these things are adorable. Actually, that gives me a good idea for Valentine's Day. I should buy one, paint it pink, and put a flower in the hand and give it to somebody. That'd just be awesome. Anyways, okay, for the head, it's on a peg and couldn't go about that far to that side, and that far to that side. Additional movement in the head is this piece can open up and actually fully come off if you want to, showing some mechanics on the inside. And the mono eye does rotate. It rotates all the way to the side, just to let you know, but if you get it all the way over there, you're gonna have to get like a knife or something and wedge it between there and push it back. It's kind of hard to move, but I painted the piece, so that might be attributing to the difficulty of movement. The arms are on there are two different types of joints for these arms. This arm is kind of like the Gundam's, which allows for some very far forward motion, and itself is on a peg. And inside the arm for the shoulder pad, it's on a polycap ball joint, which allows it for some pretty significant movement of itself. And let me pop that back on there. Come on. There we go. Okay. And this arm itself is just on a regular peg, so no real movement with that. And again, this one is on a polycap, but it's not as dynamic as the other sides. So push that back in there. The arms themselves are on polycaps and can go about that far forward, and just straight back down, thanks to this armor piece here. And the hands themselves can rotate a full 360, albeit a bit difficultly. They're a bit of a pain to move. So next is the torso, which can rotate about that far and that far. The backpack here is getting in the way from turning too far. And, sorry about that. That's my neighbors. They recently moved in. Sorry, guys. And here is the for the foot joint, like the Gundams, is on a polycap, but the feet are much more restrictive and they don't have the extra movement as the Gundam does. So pop that back on there. And that's it in terms of articulation for the Zaku. So for accessories, we get one beam bazooka. These are all molded in a gray. By the way, the colors you get for them are black, red, and a bit of gray. Plus this kind of like turquoise-ish color for this Heat Hawk, which I've obviously painted. And the Heat Hawk, as you can see, there's paint chipped down there. That's about as far in as you can push it into the hand for him to hold it. You get a Zaku bazooka with a peg behind the actual trigger for him to hold on to. And then, lastly, the classic Zaku machine gun, which, as an addition, the clip can come off, and back there, you can actually swing the Zaku around, and there we go, stick the machine gun on the back of the Zaku. So that really does it for stuff with the Zaku II and the Gundam. Quite frankly, I really do like these two kits. I'd suggest picking them up if you're kind of on the fence about them. They're a nice little thing to have around, and if you know some people like I do, when I showed it to her, she's like, "Oh, they're little babies," which I found actually kind of funny. But anyways, that's it for this review, and I will see you all next time for a 0080 set, the Camphor and the Gundam NT1. See y'all there.